The quiet connection, the afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows of the Riverside Community Center, casting golden rectangles across the worn carpet where Zara Williams sat cross-legged with a circle of eager 5-year-olds. Her dark curls caught the light as she held up a picture book, her animated voice bringing the story of a brave little rabbit to life. "And what do you think the rabbit should do next?" she asked, watching as tiny hands shot up with excitement. "Run really fast," squeaked Tommy, bouncing in his spot. "Hide in the bushes," suggested Maria, her gap-toothed grin wide with enthusiasm. Zara loved these moments. After spending her days teaching kindergarten at Lincoln Elementary, she volunteered. Here 3 evenings a week, running the literacy program for children whose families couldn't afford tutoring. It wasn't glamorous work, but it filled her heart in ways her modest teacher's salary never could. As the children's session ended and parents began collecting their little ones, Zara noticed someone new in the adult reading circle that met in the adjacent room. A man in a sleek wheelchair sat slightly apart from the group, a well-worn copy of To Kill a Mockingbird in his hands. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and he wore a simple gray sweater that somehow looked expensive despite its understated style. "That's a powerful book," Zara said, approaching him as the other adults filtered out. "Are you joining our discussion group?" He looked up, and she was struck by his warm brown eyes and genuine smile. "I hope so. I'm Marcus. Just moved to the area and heard you had a great book club here. Zara. We do try to pick books that matter, that make us think about the world differently." She gestured toward his copy. "Have you read it before?" "Several times, actually. I find something new each time I return to it. The way Harper Lee writes about seeing beyond surface judgments, about the courage it takes to do what's right even when it's difficult, ... He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I think we all need reminders about what real character looks like." Zara felt a spark of connection. So many people rush through books just to say they'd finish them, but Marcus spoke with the thoughtfulness of someone who truly absorbed what he read. "Next week we're starting The Alchemist," she said. "It's about following your dreams even when the path isn't clear. I think you'd enjoy our discussions. I'd like that very much." Marcus's smile was quiet but warm. "What made you start this program?" "I believe education changes everything," Zara said simply. "Not everyone has the same opportunities, but everyone deserves the chance to discover what books can offer. Stories teach us empathy, expand our worlds, help us dream bigger than our current circumstances." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's beautiful. And important work." "What do you do?" Zara asked, settling into a nearby chair. "I work in technology," he said, which was true enough. But I find myself drawn to questions about purpose, about how we can use whatever resources we have to make a real difference." They talked for another 20 minutes about books, about the power of education, about their shared belief that small acts of kindness could ripple outward in ways you might never see. When Marcus finally said goodbye, wheeling toward the exit, with practiced ease, Zara found herself looking forward to the following week in a way that had nothing to do with the book. They'd be discussing. She didn't know that. Marcus sat in his specially equipped Tesla for several minutes after leaving, thinking about her passion and authenticity. He'd been searching for something real for so long, tired of people who saw his wealth before they saw him. Tonight. 4. The first time in years, someone had looked at him and seen simply Marcus, a man who loved books and believed in making the world better. Seeing beyond the surface 3 weeks into their book club discussions, Zara found herself genuinely looking forward to Tuesday evenings in a way that surprised her. Marcus had quickly become the most thoughtful voice in their small group, offering insights that made her see familiar stories from entirely new angles. Tonight, as the others packed up after discussing The Alchemist, she noticed he seemed to linger. "Beautiful evening," Marcus said, glancing toward the windows where the last golden light of summer painted the sky. "Would you like to take a walk? There's something peaceful about this neighborhood at sunset." Zara hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. "I'd like that." As they made their way outside, she walked slowly beside his wheelchair, neither of them feeling the need to fill the comfortable silence immediately. The tree-lined streets around the community center were quiet. with children's laughter echoing from nearby yards and the scent of someone's barbecue drifting on the warm breeze. "Can I ask you something?" Zara said finally. "You don't have to answer if it's too personal. Ask away. You have this way of talking about overcoming obstacles, about finding strength in unexpected places. It makes me curious about your story." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his hands moving steadily on the wheel rims. 5 years ago, I was obsessed with rock climbing. Every weekend I'd drive hours to find new challenges, more difficult routes. I thought conquering those mountains made me strong. He paused, a rueful smile crossing his face. Was about to learn what real strength actually looks like. What happened? Equipment failure on a climb in Colorado. 60-foot fall. His voice was matter of fact, but Zara caught the slight tightening around his eyes. Spinal injury. Doctor said I'd never walk again, might not even regain full use of my arms. For a while, I thought my life was essentially over. Zara felt her heart clench, but she didn't offer the usual platitudes about being sorry. Something in Marcus's tone told her he didn't want pity. "What changed your mind?" "My grandmother," Marcus said, his whole demeanor softening. She was 92. Had survived the Depression, World War II, losing my grandfather young and raising 5 kids alone. When I was drowning in self-pity, she wheeled herself into my hospital room. She'd been using a wheelchair for years, due to arthritis, Anne said. "Boy, your legs don't make you who you are. Your heart does. Now stop wasting time feeling sorry for yourself, and figure out what you're going to do with this life." They paused near a small park where an elderly woman sat on a bench, watching her grandchildren play. Marcus waved at the kids, who waved back enthusiastically. "She sounds like my Grandma Rose," Zara said. "She raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. She used to say, 'Baby girl, life is going to knock you down. Da-da. Question isn't whether you'll fall, it's whether you'll get back up with more compassion than you had before.' Wise women. Our grandmothers. The wisest." Zara looked at Marcus with new understanding. "Is that why you joined the book club? Looking for that compassion?" "Poorly. But mostly, I was looking for people who see beyond surfaces, who care more about what's in here," he tapped his chest, "than about circumstances or appearances. Too often people either treat me like I'm helpless or like I'm inspirational. Just for existing, both miss the point entirely." Zara nodded. "You're just Marcus. It's a man who loves books and thinks deeply about the world and makes everyone around him want to be more thoughtful." The smile that spread across his face was radiant. Exactly. As they continued their walk, Marcus asked about her teaching, her students, her dreams beyond the classroom. Zara found herself sharing things she rarely talked about: her secret wish to open learning centers in underserved communities, her belief that every child deserved to discover the magic of reading, her frustration with educational systems that left so many children behind. "You light up when you talk about it," Marcus observed. "It's more than a job for you. It's everything," Zara admitted. "Sometimes I think I'm naive, dreaming about changing the world one child at a time. But then I see a kid who is struggling suddenly get excited about a story, and I remember why it matters. It's not naive at all. It's necessary." When they finally returned to the community center parking lot, Zara realized they'd been walking and talking for over an hour. The connection between them felt natural, easy like puzzle pieces finding their perfect fit. "Same time next week?" Marcus asked as they reached her small Honda Civic. "I'll be here," Zara said, and meant it in ways that went far beyond their book club. The truth unveiled. 2 months had passed since that first evening walk, and Zara found herself thinking about Marcus at the most unexpected moments. During parent-teacher conferences, she'd remember his insights about patience and understanding. While grading papers, she'd recall his gentle humor. Their Tuesday book club meetings had expanded into coffee dates on Saturdays and long phone conversations that stretched well into the evening. This particular Saturday morning, Zara was running late to meet Marcus at their usual cafe downtown. She'd promised to bring him a book her grandmother had loved, a worn copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God that held special meaning for her family. In her rush, she'd forgotten it on her kitchen counter and had to turn back as she hurried down 5th Street toward the cafe. She stopped abruptly outside the gleaming glass tower that housed Sterling Innovations. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she could see Marcus in the lobby, but he wasn't alone. A well-dressed man in a suit was speaking with him earnestly, holding what looked like important documents. But what made Zara's breath catch was the massive portrait hanging behind them, Marcus's face, 10 feet tall, with the words Marcus Sterling, founder and CEO beneath it. Her heart hammered as pieces clicked into place. The expensive-looking, casual clothes. The way he never seemed worried about money when they split cafe bills. His Tesla with the custom wheelchair lift. His thoughtful questions about her dreams that seemed less like curiosity and more like planning. Zara backed away from the window, her mind reeling. She walked the 3 blocks to their cafe in a daze, arriving 20 minutes late to find Marcus already at their corner table, his face lighting up when he saw her. "There she is," he said warmly. "I was starting to worry. Everything okay?"
Girl.
Slid into her chair, studying his face, the same kind eyes, the same genuine smile. "Marcus Sterling," she said quietly. "CEO of Sterling Innovations. Net worth estimated at $2.8 billion. The color drained from his face. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "How long have you known?" he asked finally. "About 5 minutes?" "I saw you in your building." Zara's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking slightly. "Were you ever going to tell me?" Marcus leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Yes. I've been trying to figure out how, when. Zara, I need you to understand. Do you have any idea how this feels?" She interrupted, her voice rising slightly, before she caught herself and lowered it. "I've been sharing my dreams with you, talking about my struggles to afford my car payment, mentioning how I save up for weeks to buy new books for my students. And you've been sitting there, a billionaire, just ... what? Studying me like some interesting specimen?" "No." Marcus's voice was firm. "Never that. Zara, please listen to me." She wanted to leave, to run from the embarrassment and confusion, but something in his tone made her stay. "5 years ago, after my accident, I became worth even more money than before," Marcus said. "The company's stock soared, my investments multiplied. But suddenly, everyone in my life started treating me differently. Not because of the wheelchair, because of the wealth. People who'd ignored me before wanted to be my best friend. Women who'd never given me a second glance were suddenly fascinated by my inspiring story. Couldn't tell anymore who cared. About Marcus and who cared about Marcus Sterling, billionaire?" Zara listened, her anger warring with understanding. "When I joined that book club, I wasn't looking to deceive anyone. I was looking for something real, someone who would see me for who I am, not what I have." He reached across the table, stopping just short of her hands. "Zara, you talked to me about books and dreams and making the world better. You walked with me, laughed with me, shared your deepest thoughts with me. And not once did. You treat me like I was broken, or like I was a symbol, or like I owed you anything. But you lied to me. Told you I worked in technology. I told you I cared about making a difference. Told you I thought you were extraordinary. None of that was a lie." Zara was quiet for a long time, watching the steam rise from her untouched coffee. "I feel like I don't know you at all." "You know me better than anyone has in years," Marcus said softly. "You know that I dog-ear my favorite pages. You know I call my grandmother every Sunday. You know I believe education can change the world. You know I think your passion for teaching is the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed." His voice grew stronger. "You know I'm falling in love with you." The words hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they could cross. "I need time to think," Zara said finally, standing up. "This is ... It's a lot." Marcus nodded, though. She could see the pain in his eyes. "I understand. But Zara, you're thinking. Remember this. Your heart is worth more than any fortune I could ever have." As she walked away, Zara carried those words with her, not knowing that they would echo back to him in ways neither of them could yet imagine. A simple promise, 2 weeks of silence stretched between them like an ocean. Zara threw herself into her work, staying late to create new lesson plans and spending extra hours at the community center. But Marcus's words followed her everywhere. "Your heart is worth more than any fortune I could ever have." On a Thursday evening, as she was locking up her classroom, she found Grandma Rose waiting by her car. 78, Rose Williams still moved with purpose, her silver hair perfectly styled and her brown eyes sharp with wisdom. "We need to talk, baby girl," Rose said, settling into the passenger seat without waiting for an invitation. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" "Watching my granddaughter run from the best thing that's happened to her in years." Rose fastened her seatbelt with a decisive click. "Drive. We're going to get some ice cream, and you're going to tell me why you're being foolish." 20 minutes later, they sat in Rose's kitchen, with bowls of butter pecan ice cream between them. Zara had told her grandmother everything: the book club, the growing feelings, the discovery of Marcus's wealth, her confusion and hurt. "So, let me understand this," Rose said, setting down her spoon. "This man has been nothing but kind, honest about his feelings, respectful of your dreams, and treats you like the treasure you are. But because he has money, you're running scared?" "It's not that simple, Grandma. He deceived me." "Did he? Or did he do what any smart person does, get to know someone's character before revealing something that might change how they're treated?" Rose's voice was gentle but firm. "Zara, I raised you to judge people by their actions, not their bank accounts. What have his actions shown you?" Zara was quiet, remembering Tuesday evenings when Marcus listened intently to every word she said. Saturday mornings when he made her laugh until her sides hurt. Phone calls where he encouraged her wildest dreams about changing education. "He sees me," she whispered. "Really sees me." "And you see him? Not the wheelchair? Not the money him?" Rose reached across the table to squeeze her granddaughter's hand. "That man loves you, Zara, and unless I'm mistaken, you love him too." Next morning, Zara drove to Sterling Innovations. The receptionist, a kind woman named Patricia, smiled when Zara asked for Marcus. "He's not here," Patricia said. "He's been working from home lately, but you're Zara, aren't you? He talks about you all the time." When Zara finally stood on Marcus's doorstep, a modest craftsman house that surprised her with its warmth and simplicity, her heart was pounding. He answered the door looking rumpled and tired, his eyes widening when he saw her. "Zara, can we talk?" They sat in his living room, surrounded by overflowing bookshelves and family photos. The space felt like Marcus, thoughtful, comfortable, real. "I was scared," Zara said without preamble. "Not of your money exactly, but of what it might mean. Would you change? Would I? Would this beautiful thing between us get lost in complications I can't even imagine?" Marcus nodded slowly. "I understand. I've been scared too. But then I realized something. You could have revealed your wealth at any time to impress me. You could have showered me with expensive gifts or tried to sweep me off my feet with grand gestures. Instead, you sat in a community center book club and talked to me about stories and dreams." She met his eyes. "That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." "I love you," Marcus said simply. "Just as you are. Your passion, your kindness, your brilliant mind, your beautiful heart. I don't want to change anything about your life except to be part of it." "I love you too," Zara whispered, and felt the truth of it settle into her bones. 6 months later, on a crisp October morning, Zara stood in the small chapel where her grandparents had been married 40 years earlier. Her dress was simple but elegant, her grandmother's pearl necklace, her only jewelry. Marcus waited at the altar in a navy suit, his eyes never leaving her face as she walked down the aisle. Their vows were heartfelt and personal. Zara promised to love him in all circumstances, to be his partner in making the world better. Marcus promised to support her dreams, to stand beside her in all of life's adventures. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Reverend Thompson said with a broad smile as they kissed. Their small gathering of family and friends erupted in applause. Zara's best friend Nina wiped away tears, while James, Marcus's assistant, who had become a dear friend to both of them, grinned from the front row. As they walked back down the aisle, hand in hand, Marcus squeezed her fingers gently. "Mrs. Sterling," he said, his voice warm with joy, "I have one surprise for you." Zara laughed, her heart full to overflowing. "What now, husband?" "Trust me," he said, his eyes twinkling with a secret that would change everything. The greatest gift, the chapel door swung open, and Zara expected to see their small reception waiting in the fellowship hall. Instead, sunlight streamed in to reveal something that made her steps falter completely. Across the street, where an empty lot had stood just yesterday, was a gleaming new building with floor-to-ceiling windows and a playground, where children were already laughing and playing. But it was the sign above the entrance that made Zara's breath catch. The Zara Williams Learning Center, where every child's dreams take flight. "Marcus," she whispered, her free hand flying to her mouth. "What is this?" "The first of many," he said softly, guiding her wheelchair-accessible ramp that led to the building's entrance. "James, would you do the honors?" James stepped forward with a grin, pulling out a tablet. "Mrs. Sterling, what you're looking at is the flagship location of a nationwide network. We've already broken ground on 12 more centers across the state, with plans for 50 locations within the next 3 years." Zara's legs felt unsteady. Marcus gestured for her to sit on a nearby bench, positioning his wheelchair beside her. "Each center will provide free tutoring, books, educational supplies, and after-school programs for children in underserved communities," Marcus continued, his voice thick with emotion. "But more than that, they'll provide hope. Just like you do every single day." "I don't understand," Zara managed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "How is this possible? Remember our first real conversation? You said education changes everything, that everyone deserves the chance to discover what books can offer." Marcus took her hands in his. "You've been living that truth every day, changing lives one child at a time. I just wanted to help you. Change a few more lives." Nina approached with a tissue and a camera, documenting the moment as more details unfolded. Thought. The centers would employ teachers and tutors from local communities, stock libraries with diverse books in multiple languages, and offer programs from early literacy through college preparation. "We've partnered with school districts, libraries, and community organizations," James explained. "The funding is guaranteed for the next 50 years, with provisions for expansion based on community needs." Reverend Thompson joined them, his eyes bright with tears. "Zara, do you remember what you told me when you started volunteering here? You said you wanted to make sure no child ever felt like learning was beyond their reach." "I remember," Zara whispered. "Well, child, you just made that dream come true for thousands of children." As if summoned by magic, the doors of the learning center opened, and a stream of children poured out, some she recognized from her classroom. Others from the community center, many she'd never met, but who looked at her with shy smiles and curious eyes. They carried handmade cards and drawings, gifts of gratitude for someone they'd been told was going to help make their dreams possible. Tommy from the community center ran up to her, his gap-toothed grin wide. "Miss Zara," they said, "this is your school. Are you going to read to us here too?" Zara knelt down to his level, her wedding dress pooling around her. "If you'd like me to, absolutely." "This is what you do to people," Marcus said quietly, as children surrounded them both. "You make them believe in possibilities they never imagined. You make them feel seen and valued and capable of anything." Rose Williams approached, using her walker but moving with determined joy. "Baby girl, you've been planting seeds everywhere you go. Now you get to see the whole garden." As the afternoon wore on, Zara toured the center with Marcus. Every detail reflected her educational philosophy, cozy reading nooks with soft lighting, technology labs designed for hands-on learning, art spaces that encourage creativity, and a central library that felt like a treasure trove of possibilities. "The most beautiful part," Marcus said as they stood in the main classroom, "is that this is just the beginning. Every center will be adapted to its community-specific needs. Some will focus on STEM, others on arts, some on job training for older students. But they'll all share your core belief that every person deserves the chance to discover their potential." "How long have you been planning this?" Zara asked, overwhelmed by the scope and thoughtfulness of it all. "Since our second book club meeting, when you talked about wanting to reach more children but feeling limited by resources. I started making calls the next day." That evening, after their reception had moved to the Learning Center's community room, Zara and Marcus found themselves alone on the playground as stars began to appear overhead. "I thought I was marrying a wonderful man who loved books and believed in making the world better," Zara said, settling onto a bench beside his wheelchair. You did. But I actually married someone who believed in me more than I believed in myself. She turned to face him, her eyes bright with unshed tears of joy. Marcus, this isn't just a wedding gift. This is a legacy. This is going to change generations of families. We're going to change them, Marcus corrected gently. Together. I may have provided the funding, but you're the heart and soul of this vision. These centers need your wisdom, your passion, your ability to see potential in every child. As they sat in comfortable silence, watching the lights twinkle in the learning center's windows, Zara realized she had gained more than a husband. She had gained a partner who saw her dreams not as pretty wishes, but as blueprints for transformation. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Marcus replied, for showing me what it means to love with purpose. In the months that followed, as the Zara Williams Learning Centers opened across the country, as children who had never owned a book filled their backpacks with stories, as teenagers who had given up on college found new paths forward, Zara often thought about that first Tuesday evening at the community center. She had gone there to share her love of reading with a few children, never imagining she would find a love that would amplify her impact beyond her wildest dreams. And Marcus, watching his wife light up as she cut the ribbon at each new center, knew he had found something more valuable than all his billions. A partner whose heart was big enough to hold the hopes of countless children, and generous enough to include him in making those hopes reality.